Hey there, friend. Welcome back to Daily Dose Radio here in the Bible Bistro. And happy birthday a week late to Daily Dose Radio. Yeah, we've been on the air broadcasting the Psalms, studying the Psalms 5 minutes a day, 5 days a week, studying the Psalms verse by verse. We've been doing that since 2013, so this would be our 10th anniversary. So 10 years we've been studying the Psalms. Now I say we're a week late because last week would have been the anniversary, but we'll just go ahead and celebrate. I wish I had a noisemaker with me. Maybe I can find one, and tomorrow we'll have a noisemaker. But 10 years of doing this podcast beginning in 2013, and now here we are in 2023. How about that? All right, well, today we're looking at verses 43 through 50, and just a reminder that yesterday we had the nevertheless. That began our study this week. Nevertheless, they turned back. They repented, but they repented in the wrong way. And, they tempted God. They provoked him. They grieved him. And then there's a little word here that's interesting in the Hebrew. The King James translates it, limited the Holy One. This word in the Hebrew, it's unique because it occurs only here. Nowhere else in the Hebrew Bible do we have this word used. And it means they pained or wounded the Holy One. So that's how personally God takes the rebellion of his people. He is wounded by it. He's pained by it. So they provoked him. They grieved him. They tempted. They pained him. So they're not remembering all that God has done. Notice verse 42, because verse 42 sets up for us what we're going to have today and tomorrow. They remembered not his hand, nor the day when he delivered them from the enemy. Now today we come to the remembrance, how he did wrought his signs, how he had wrought his signs in Egypt. So now 43 through 50, we're going to look at the psalmist is going to remember what God did. So they've rejected that. They have turned away from him, and they have not remembered. They remembered not his hand. And here's what the psalmist is going to say. This was his hand. This is what he did. So you can go back to Exodus chapter 7 through 11 and look at these. Let me just go ahead and read for us 43 through 50. How he had wrought his signs in Egypt, and his wonders in the field of Zoan, and had turned the rivers into blood, and their floods that they could not drink. He sent divers sorts of flies among them, which devoured them, and frogs which destroyed them. He gave also their increase unto the caterpillar, and their labor unto the locust. He destroyed their vines with hail, and their sycomore trees with frost. He gave up their cattle also to the hail, and their flocks to hot thunderbolts. He cast upon them the fierceness of his anger, wrath and indignation and trouble, by sending evil angels among them. He made a way to his anger. He spared not their soul from death, but gave their life over to the pestilence. Now tomorrow we're going to have Remembrance Part 2 in verses 51 through 55. We're going to continue remembering, but today we're just remembering these signs that we had in Egypt. So here we have, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 signs here. There were more than 9 signs in Egypt. There were like 11 or 12 signs in Egypt. So we're missing a couple. We're missing the darkness. We're missing the lice. Although I think that he sort of combines the lice with the flies here. He said sent divers sorts of flies. So that could be he's remembering the lice there as well. He doesn't mention the darkness. He doesn't mention the destroying angel, although he does say he sent evil angels among them. So I would say that's probably what that refers to. So the blood, the flies, the frogs, the caterpillars, the locust, the hail, the thunderbolts, the evil angels, he spared not their soul from death, because you'll recall at the very end of the story of the Exodus, Pharaoh's army tries to follow the people of Israel into the sea. The people of Egypt, or the people of Israel, are exiting the sea, and then the sea closes in on Pharaoh and his armies. So death was completed for all of the people there in Pharaoh's host. All right, so the signs here are remembered, and as I said, this is part 1, and then we're going to see part 2 tomorrow. Oh, and the destruction of the firstborn is there in 51. So the evil angels, probably not referring to the destruction of the firstborn, probably referring to all the pestilence that God sent amongst the people, because in 51 we have the firstborn of Egypt mentioned, so we have another one of the signs of Egypt mentioned there. So he's reminding them of what God has done, because they've forgotten, and they have forgotten willfully so. So here the psalmist is being our great teacher, and he's helping us remember. Okay, remember all that God has done for you as well, how he's delivered you from the hand of your enemy, and brought you out of the kingdom of darkness, and released you from the chains of your prison, and given you life and light in Christ. Remember that, and don't forget. Join me again tomorrow, and we'll read verses 51 through 58 here on Daily Dose Radio.